Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte have filed a defamation lawsuit against a right-wing US influencer who claimed the French First Lady used to be a man. The complaint, filed in Delaware, says Candace Owens has waged a lie-filled campaign of global humiliation to promote her podcast and expand her frenzied fan base. On Wednesday, Owens said the lawsuit was littered with factual inaccuracies. Well, for more on this, we can bring in our international affairs editor, Douglas Herbert. Doug, tell us then, who is Candace Owens?
She is, as you said, an influencer with millions of followers on her widely listened to and watched YouTube channel. She also has millions of followers on Fox. Now, she would consider herself a conservative influencer. The terms that others often use to describe her are far-right and ultra-right. And the reason that those terms have been used with her is because her views have tended to align with more radical right views. She has been a fierce critic of Black Lives Matter. She has also expressed real skepticism about the impact of white supremacy in American society. She's been critical of President Donald Trump in the past, but her overall relationship with him is one of perhaps empathy or sympathy. And she is also someone who has been a darling at times of Fox News, the right-wing, I would say, propaganda news channel in the United States. And early on, she was on the conspiracy-linked websites such as InfoWars. Now, InfoWars is something she's distanced herself in years since from those types of websites. And she would like to place herself more on the sort of lucid, rational, clear-headed, conservative side of the spectrum. But her views really would suggest that there's more to it than that. And I say that because in the case of this Brigitte Macron conspiracy theory, which is exactly what it is, she seized it back last year in 2024, and ever since she's really she's gone with it. In the sense that earlier this year, January 2025, she started a series on her YouTube channel called Becoming Brigitte, and she did it in collaboration with a French journalist. And it's been a series in which she has videos in which she says, as she sees it, she's laid out the evidence to try to expand upon the series, which, as we all know, living here in France, have been widely circulating really ever since Macron came to power in 2017. The theory that Brigitte never really existed, right? Who did exist was her brother, Jean-Michel Troneux, as he was born. He had a sex change. He changed to become a woman and assumed the identity of who we now today call Brigitte Macron, the First Lady of France. It is a patently, egregiously ungrounded, false, unsubstantiated theory. It's exactly that, a conspiracy theory. But it has gained traction because for a lot of people, she is wildly popular, and her fans, as they often do with people who are very articulate and very persuasive in their arguments, are able to gain a lot of people who sort of latch on to her and don't let go. They really believe whatever she will tell them. She, as you said in this podcast she did yesterday, was extremely clinical in her sort of put down and her takedown of both Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte Macron, really almost essentially accusing them of being pedophiles or part of like a pedophile circle. So this is a woman who's very influential, very listened to, even if the theories themselves are debunked or unsubstantiated and have no evidence at all. In fact, a lot of people, a disturbing number of people, you might say, listen to her and believe her.
Well, conspiracy theories have been with us for a long time, from those who said that the Earth was flat to those who said that the moon landing was a hoax. Why are some people more inclined to believe these theories?
Yeah, look, we live in a complicated world, right, Karis? And, we'd be lying to say that as human beings, we do sort of like to have simple answers to sometimes nuanced, complicated questions. So when you have something like a pandemic, a terror attack, a giant political scandal, you have this craving. I do. I'll admit I do. You want a simple answer. What's that about? And if someone provides that simple answer, you're much likely to sort of latch on to it. It makes the world seem a lot more straightforward. It makes a very complicated, chaotic world seem more controllable. Studies have shown that people who have feelings of anxiety, people who tend to feel a little marginalized or disenfranchised from society, they're more prone to conspiracy theories. It doesn't mean they'll naturally latch on to all of them, but they're more prone to believing them and staying with them. How you bring people back, how do you reel them back into reality once they're fully into the conspiracy theory? That is way above my pay grade. You have psychologists and scientists trying to work on that. A lot of it goes into cult theory and how you bring people out of cults, because it can be really tenacious and extremely difficult. But I'll say one thing. The problem is, and the reason they're so dangerous is because they make people they cause people to fear things that are harmless and ignore real threats. So real dangers go ignored, while harmless things or things that are not threats at all are the things that they latch onto and pay a lot of attention to.
All right, Doug.